Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Talking Tim webinar. My name is Kevin Vita, and I'll be helping facilitate today's webinar. This webinar is sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration and hosted by the National Operations Center of Excellence, also known as NOCO. As a quick reminder, NOCO offers a variety of resources to support the transportation systems management and operations community. Let me cover a few logistics for today's webinar. All of the attendees are in listen-only mode by default, but we'd like you to stay engaged by using the chat box for identifying yourself and the agency you represent. We also have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. So we encourage you to ask questions that you have during the presentations in the Q&A pod as they come to your mind at any time. The questions will be read out loud one at a time by the moderator, and our presenters will answer each of them. I'd also like to state that this webinar is being recorded, and the recording and the slide deck will be available on the NOCO website within the next few days. So that's all I have, and with that, I'll hand it over to our Master of Ceremonies today, Jim Aldridge.
Thank you, Kevin. And as always, a big thank you to the National Operations Center of Excellence, Kevin Vita, Adam Hops, and of course, your Executive Director, Nick Ramphos. Welcome to everyone from across the nation. Your time is valuable, and we are very grateful that you're joining us today. Talking Tim is in its 7th year and going strong. Our presenters today will prove that again as well. Before I get into that, I want to say that today's webinar is all about strengthening TIM programs and using, as you will hear and see in a minute, the self-assessment tool. One of our presenters today will cover the TIM self-assessment, and that tool is designed to help strengthen programs, TIM programs, and obviously state TIM programs to chart forward a stronger and more effective TIM program. We're also going to have, as I said, not one, but 2 presenters today. Next slide. So this is pretty much what I just said. I'll cover the first couple, 2 or 3 slides, give a brief update from the Office of Operations TIM Program Office. And then we'll get into our 2 presenters, followed by Q&A with our presenters, and then we'll close out. If we want to go the full time all the way to 3, that's fine. Or if we end at the 2:45 mark, that's fine as well. Next slide. So here's a snapshot as of March 10th. I love this number. It's so close to 800,000. It's super exciting. We have a goal to train over 1 million. However, I can see the light now where we're actually going to get to that 1 million here. And I challenge everyone here today, if you have any influence over your state, local TIM programs, and especially TIM training, challenge you to make 2025 our best year yet. And let's definitely hit 800,000, if not 900,000. You can see the statistics here. The TIM training was launched in the summer of 2012, and you can see the numbers there, this train-to-trainer sessions, of course, the in-person training, as well as the web-based training. Our partners over at Emergency Responder Safety Institute, ERSI, as you see there, as well as the training arm of the National Highway Institute, the training arm of Federal Highway, I should say, known as NHI, National Highway Institute. Next slide. This is our national map map that was developed way back in 2014-15, whereby we asked the states to estimate their responder population that needs to receive the TIM training. So this map is a living document, and we recently changed our goal from 55% to 65%, the goal that is. And as you can see there, we're currently at 57.1%. This map demonstrates the progress at a glance. And if you're in any one of these states, if you're interested in the statistics more in detail or whatnot, send me an email and I'll get you the data. Next slide. So this is a shout out to these 10 states with the largest number of responders trained between the 24th of February and this last report for March 10th that you just saw. It all depends on you. You're the ones that are promulgating, that are pushing the training, and it's, you know, one of the lowest hanging fruit that you can engage in to save lives. Not only your responders in your state, but also the motoring public. And who knows, it could even be your own family members. TIM training is not difficult in any way. It's very basic and common sense, but the practices that are taught in the TIM training for all responders, police, fire, rescue, EMS, towing, recovery, public works, and others, is very valuable information for all those that are out there charged with working crashes and other traffic incidents. Next slide. Line of duty deaths. Responder struck by line of duty deaths. Let me qualify that. Important data. Our friends again at Emergency Responder Safety Institute, ERSI, they're still the only organization out there that is collecting this data. And as of as of March, we're at 6. One is too many, as we always say. So, side of the road is a very dangerous place, ladies and gentlemen. You could be changing a flat or whatever the case may be. Take it very, very, very seriously. Next slide. Today is a special day. Actually, this week is a special week. National Work Zone Awareness Week. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the fact that National Work Zone Awareness Week occurs every April. It's been in effect for over 20 years. And here at Federal Highway, my teammates, Martha Capanova and Todd Peterson and others all engage in Work Zone Awareness Week, as does the rest of the country. This year, North Carolina is the lead state, and there are activities going on as we speak. So similar to what we do for Crash Responder Safety Week that's coming up in November every year, where we commemorate and honor our responders, they do the same thing for Work Zone Awareness. Work zones are very dangerous, and places where crashes occur and workers are killed, as are the motorists. So let's pay attention to work zones. Next slide. Here are some of the TIM resources for you. As Kevin said, this presentation today, all the presentations will be available. They're recorded and available on the National Operations Center of Excellence, but these are some of the more important links that my office wanted to share with you today. And again, if there's any assistance you need from me or even our team here, feel free to contact us. Next slide. So with that, as I said, we have two great presentations today, one of which is from our friends down in TxDOT, Houston TransStar, Suzanne Johnson and Jay Washington. They're going to share what they do down there. And I dare say Houston TransStar is one of the more mature traffic operations centers, traffic management centers in the country. It's been many years since I've been down there, Suzanne, but I do remember the hospitality and, more importantly, the great work that you guys do. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Jim. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
So good afternoon. This picture, first off, is a picture of our control room. So we're just going to go, I'm going to share a little bit about the process of our TIM self-assessment and what we've learned from it, and even the areas in which we feel like we need to do better. Next. So Houston TransStar is a unique partnership with the city, state, and county agencies. We share resources and exchange information to make sure that the roadways are clear, the motorists are informed, and we save lives in the fourth most populated city in the United States. So the Houston TransStar is a partnership between TxDOT, the City of Houston, Harris County, and the Metropolitan Transit Authority, also known as Metro. Of course, there's other agencies such as the Houston Galveston County or Houston Galveston Council and multiple contractors that work with us. So we do cover a 6-county area around Houston, and Houston TransStar's mission is to provide coordinated, innovative transportation and emergency management services to the region. Next. So just to go over real quick, a few key players in our Houston area incident management. So we do have Tow and Go, which is a no-cost towing program for stranded patrons, which is managed by the Safe Clear Management Group, or their dispatchers are managed by them. And the Harris County Motorist Assistance Program, which assists patrons and provides incident traffic control. Both of those groups, Tow and Go and the Motorist Assistance Program, act as our safety service patrol. We also have the Harris County Incident Management Unit, who authorizes the no-cost tows, as well as the city or Houston Police Department also authorizes the ones that fall within Houston city limits. And we have the TxDOT TMC floor staff. So we monitor incidents, notify the public, and assist in coordination. We also take care of signals, maintenance deficiencies. So anything on the roadway, anything to have to do with the state right-of-way, we either dispatch it or take care of it. Next. So for our self-assessment process, we've created a multidiscipline, multi-agency TIM program that meets monthly with consistent routine participation from key agencies and disciplines. Along with the ones that I've already mentioned, we do have more law enforcement. We have City of Houston. We have had the state troopers. We've had smaller law enforcement agencies come. Because in a very large urban area, you have lots of different law enforcement agencies. We also have several MPOs. Well, one major MPO, the Houston Galveston Area Council. We have the Toll Authority, multiple contractors, and research institutes. Our TIM leadership, who would be Jay Washington and Francis Rodriguez, with HGAC. She's not here. Neither one of them are here today, unfortunately, but they are both newer to the incident management game. They're both working hard to learn from the past leaders and working to establish a good rapport with our regional TIM leaders and partners. While we do have a robust group that regularly attends our monthly TIM meetings, we are actively trying to increase participation by the smaller local first responder agencies, as well as agencies from the more rural counties in our region. To this effect, we've started having guest speakers to introduce new technologies and other areas of interest, and are leveraging our contacts to network with the smaller agencies that have normally not attended these agencies. So this is one of the things that we have learned from our TIM assessment process, is that we need to get more buy-in from the local stakeholders, and not just the large ones, but the smaller first responder agencies as well. Next. So our TIM training, Houston District Tech Dot meet specifically. I'm a trainer. We work closely with HGAC to schedule quarterly incident management or traffic incident management train the trainer courses. We're also branching out, trying to go to the outer reaches of our region for agencies, so that they don't have to come to the central area, because it is hard for people to get off the roadway and come to a location for 4 hours or 12 hours instead of being in their own area. And with that, we're reaching more first responders and making sure that we have a multidiscipline setting. As of 2022, over 40% of our area's train the trainer participants have provided TIM training to others. TxDOT also offers classes that teach first responders how to safely handle cable barrier systems. And although the cable barrier class is statewide, and the cable barrier class is statewide, and TIM training at law enforcement and FD academies are state law. This law was enacted due to the need identified by multiple regional self-assessments throughout the state. So I like to say it comes from our self-assessment, but it does come from our bi-monthly statewide meetings, and what we learn from everybody in our state, as well as these meetings. So we learn not just from our own self-assessment, but from all of these meetings. Next. So one of the things that we have that we touch upon for the TIM self-assessment is data collection. So the system that we at Houston Transtar use to collect all of this data is called the Regional Incident Management System. It was created for Houston for our TMC in 2002. So our database has over 20 years worth of data on crashes, stalls, road closures, and any other roadway obstruction. So any piece of information ever input into RIMS can be compiled into an endless amount of reports for those of you that love data. All of this data has been input by the TxDOT TMC operators and our version of the Safety Service Patrol. So again, the MAP program and tow and go dispatchers. The Houston Transtar annual report compiles most of that data into a format that explains to our agency managers and other stakeholders what strides we have made towards our goals in the past years, and is used to determine what programs, projects, or research to be considered or put into action for the future. The next few slides will describe some of the data being collected. All of the data from multiple different sources are linked together in RIMS so that we have a more complete picture of each incident. Next. So our roadway clearance times and incident clearance times, as much as I would love to say that they have dropped, have actually increased in the past year, because our TMC operators are able to find incidents sooner than previous years due to the CAD data integration into RIMS. So we are capturing data from 6 law enforcement agencies and inputting just the crucial information into RIMS so that our operators can see it without having to have that certification. So we're capturing more data per incident due to this, and hope to use it to help our first responders clear incidents and even quicker. I was asked recently why our roadway clearance times went up when we have this CAD system. The answer is simple. We're finding the accidents quicker. Our TMC operators are finding the accidents quicker, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the first responders are able to get to them quicker or that the incidents are clearing quicker. We're just having a more accurate timeline of the roadway clearance and incident clearance times. So we also have a system that monitors roadway segments affected by a crash and identifies when traffic returns to normal on those segments. This can help determine the overall impact of an incident, and we can combine this data with CRIS data to show all aspects of the incident. We can correlate the data from the CAD to the CRIS data and get a clearer picture of how and why a crash occurred. This will help us plan projects to lower our roadway clearance times and incident clearance times in the future. Next. So we actively measure and routinely report secondary crashes as part of our TMC daily operations. We gather information on secondary crashes through our TMC operators, locating the incident using the CCTVs and monitoring the queue, as well as monitoring our CAD data. Determining a secondary crash without the aid of first responders on scene is subjective, but the operators do use the Federal Highway Administration's definition to assist in determination. We also have the system that identifies potential secondary incidents by determining if a crash occurred on a road segment still impacted by this previous crash, and that is the little graphic that you see in the lower right-hand corner. We use our dynamic message signs, websites, and now our text.help alerts to alert citizens of traffic hazards and try to prevent secondary crashes. The help alerts is a web-based secure platform through the IPAWS system, similar to the Amber Alert system, that sends a text to cell phones in the geofenced area to alert drivers of the freeway of a closure lasting more than 4 hours. So it only notifies those people that are in the area, doesn't notify the whole state or the whole city, just those that are going to be impacted by it. Secondary crashes is an area where we definitely need improvement, and quantitative performance targets for secondary crash reduction still need to be determined. Our TMC's use of integrating CAD data into our incident management program will soon give us enough historical data to develop these target goals so that we can begin to develop more ways to improve. Next. So during our monthly TIM meetings, we take a close look at any incidents lasting more than 4 hours, which is our definition of a long duration incident. We know that the majority of our long duration incidents are stalls, both 18-wheeler stalls and stalls that are outside of our safety service patrol areas. So we have taken steps through HGAC to begin the process of extending our safety service patrol areas to assist with this issue. There are ongoing discussions with local law enforcement regarding how to deal with stalled vehicles that have been tagged as abandoned and how our tow and go and map program should deal with them. Unfortunately, if they're tagged before our safety service patrol gets there, we do have to wait the standard 72, I believe it's either 48 or 72 hours. These discussions are essential due to the large number of different law enforcement agencies in our region, which again, with trying to get more buy-in from stakeholders should help with those discussions. We also discuss which of these incidents need to be an after-action review. Some of the after-action reviews are done outside of our TIM meetings, but the information gained is shared and used for our self-assessments. So we have been working to bring guest speakers to our TIM group about new technology, best practices, and any other topic that could help with our target goals or to keep our first responders as safe as possible. One of these pilot programs that has been spoken of in our TIM meetings is that our engineers are testing adaptive signal control on one of our major arteries. And that allows for dynamic adjusting of traffic signal timing based on real-time traffic conditions. So if any of you are familiar with the I-10 corridor, specifically the Katy Freeway, which has 7 to 8 lanes, that is where we are testing these adaptive signals. Next. For public outreach, we use a combination of outreach by the Houston Transtar with the It's Only a White Line campaign, HGAC's in-person efforts. I know Francis has gone to several events around town for Spring Fire Department and other agencies to help spread the word about our TIM projects. And TxDOT's public service announcements on the DMSs to educate the public about the driver removal law known as Steer It, Clear It. We also have PSAs about aggressive driving and drinking and driving and texting and driving. So we're always trying to get these public service announcements out to educate the public. HGAC is also working on more efforts to spread awareness to the traveling public with more outreach programs that are coming later this year or next year. Next. So for Houston's annual TIM self-assessment, I would love to tell you that our score over the last few years have gotten better, but I can't. I've only been involved with this process for maybe 8 years, and the score has been consistently between 75 and 80%, but that was with the older format. I'm not positive. I wasn't positive where to find the new numbers for the numbers for the new self-assessment, but Vishali gave me that information, so thanks to her. But the individual scores for the sections are about the same. We do tend to be a bit hard on ourselves when completing the assessment, but I feel that we should be. If we want to do better and be better about keeping our citizens safe and our first responders safe, then we should always be striving to do better and be better, and just find newer ways to be safe. And if that means being harder on ourselves when we're judging what we're doing, then hopefully that will give somebody it will help somebody go farther. Sorry. Next. And that is a basic overview of how we do our TIM self-assessments in Houston and what we've learned from it in the past few years. Again, I am Suzanne Johnson. And my direct supervisor, Jay Washington. If you need to contact any of us or have any questions about anything we're doing, please copy this information and feel free to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Great presentation. Your 24 years plus in the operations arena really shows, and we thank you for your service and all you do down in the in Transtar in the state of Texas. The citizens of Texas should be proud of you. So thanks again. I am now going to introduce a friend of the program, a personal friend, dear friend, dare I say, Brian Purvis, who's been in the TIM world, traffic operations world. He's an engineer now with AECOM, worked for the state of Georgia and North Carolina, and is still very active in all things traffic incident management. Brian's going to talk to us about the self-assessment. And Brian, I remember being one of the, back in 2003 when the self-assessment launched. I was at the District Department of Transportation and was eagerly participating, if you will, in the assessment. And boy, that was in the infancy of the District Department of Transportation's TIM program. So our numbers were very low, even though I tried to cheat a little bit and say we were better or higher in this particular area or not. But anyway, thank you for being with us, Brian. The floor is yours.
I appreciate it. And I am adorned in work zone safety awareness colors today. But yeah, I appreciate it, and hit the next slide. Sorry for the dowdy picture. I look pretty mean in that one, but we'll keep going. So I am speaking on behalf of the Traffic Incident Management and Events team, Jim Ostrich obviously being one of them. So we work on this program. The Federal Highways Self-Assessment Team is basically, federal highways. I work on behalf of Battelle, so you've got Alan Pate, Greg Bumgardner, Anthony Goebel from that group, myself, and a couple from Federal Highways that I'll introduce at the end. But next slide. So we've been doing this basically for 10 years now, but we skipped a year So what I'll kind of go over is last year's self-assessment, which was basically a 2-year period. We ran into some hurdles getting up and running in 2023, so decided just to kind of combine the 2 years. A couple folks had done assessments in 2023, so we included those. But we did have kind of a interesting hiccup that we got things back up and running. So basically, I'm just going to go over the high level where we're at as a nation with the TIM self-assessment and kind of why we're doing this. Next slide. So the TIM self-assessment questions, Jim mentioned it. They went pretty far back, but in 2020 we kind of hit a reset button. Looked at where we were as a nation, changed some of the questions, changed it from 41 questions, and then used 2015 as kind of the benchmark when we started our first self-assessments. It's like Jim said, I was involved the first year they did these, and even the predecessor to the self-assessment, where we were trying to figure out where we were as individual regions across the country. A couple years ago, we revised another section of the 41 questions. We took 9 of them out. Things like safety service patrols and traffic management center operations, and assumed that some of the rural and emerging areas of the country did not have those types of technologies and capabilities or funding sources. So we carved out a couple of the questions and set up a separate rural and emerging TIM programs score. So I'll kind of go over both of those sections. Next slide. So the rural and emerging, like I said, the biggest thing we started with was the top 75 metropolitan areas. And then we started the abbreviated section. Last year we had six TIM regions that put in as rural or emerging. So still good, but those 32 questions that they look at, basically there's the strategic section, the tactical section and support section. So anything from, the laws we have that govern what we do. And I heard Houston, Suzanne talk about one that they put in to require TIM training. To me, that's a huge advancement. And being on these webinars and doing these assessments kind of gives us, from the national level, an idea of what's going on out there is new best practices. So next slide. So that's kind of the purpose of doing these is putting together these assessment. It gives you kind of a delta, a change from year to year on your progression as a TIM region or TIM community. It builds stakeholder consensus on each of these questions. And often these are done as part of your TIM team meetings. Especially if you meet on a regular basis, you can easily, weave these in. Some regions do them as a special, one-off meeting. And then we've seen a lot of areas, actually about half of them, where just one individual representing that TIM team, usually one of the champions or TIM leaders or co-chairs of a TIM team, will fill out on behalf of their whole group. Come one, come all, we're actually happy with whatever assessments we can get. If more than one comes in for a region, we'll reach out and clean that up. As far as who's typically participating in these, it's your usual players, fire rescue, law enforcement, EMS, towing and recovery professionals, obviously transportation, your 911 centers, media, your traffic information group, hazmat cleanups, companies, and then anybody else that's kind of associated with these groups. It may be you may have a traffic control group that works on the roadways. You may have people that I've seen a lot of areas, successful areas, that bring in regular updates for construction and maintenance activities. So you may bring in, some of the DOT maintenance and construction people, your regional transportation planning groups or metro planning groups. They can come in and talk about funding and priorities and things like that. So just think about, who could benefit that community and bring them in and make them part of that committee and part of that team. Next slide. So as far as who actually participated for the 2023-24 TIM self-assessment, the lion's share of them were transportation. I think we had one that came in from a tower. A lot of law enforcement and fire. Having towing at almost 50%, to me, that shows a great stride nationally that we're really bringing these folks in. If you look at a lot of the stats that Jim Ostrich shows, 10 years ago, the towers were the ones that were, the highest fatality rates that we were having. With a lot of the focus and outreach in that community and a lot of the work that you guys have done, we've seen a reduction in that. Now it's back to law enforcement. Any fatality is one too many, but kind of monitoring the peaks and valleys kind of tells us where that level of effort needs to go in our outreach and training. So next slide. So again, we're looking at this from a big picture. Yeah, you can hit the next slide.
Sorry, one second.
Okay, we'll wait for a second. Let me find it on here. So we're kind of looking at this at a big picture, and just so you can kind of see where we're at as a country, we had, I believe it was 80 self-assessments that came in. We get a nice layering here that shows, not just the top performing agencies, the top 10, but we are getting participants from all over the United States. There's still some gaps out there. That kind of tells us as the self-assessment team where we need to do some more outreach. But if you're on this call and you're representing any of these areas, and I did see some of you that said, "Hey, everybody, I'm here." We may be reaching out to you to go ahead and do this coming year, and I'll give you some more intel on that. Some states do amazing. And just to call out a few of those, Colorado, I mean, my gosh, they put in 12 self-assessments, and even put in one in a rural area. Florida did 9, Nebraska did 6, with 3 of them rural. North Carolina, Ohio, Texas all did 5. I mean, there's a lot of these areas that shows, strong effort from a statewide perspective, a lot of coordination. So that's one of the things that we also see is these states that have a statewide TIM team. They can kind of set the priorities and the initiatives and also get folks to the table. So do consider that also, but that was something that, was just kind of a theme that I saw with a lot of these states that have robust statewide programs. They typically put out more of these assessments, and we get a better gauge of where things are at. So next slide. So here's kind of where we were at. I think I mentioned earlier we had 80 TIM programs that completed assessments. We had that's up from 2022, so that's obviously a good thing. 6 of these were rural or emerging, which is great. So we're starting to get some feedback from those areas of the country, and they're just as important. I mean, like Jim said, every life is important. It doesn't matter if you're in the biggest metro or the smallest town. Every life has value. So we got to continue to work on these efforts. As far as our average, we're right there around 71 as our average score across the country. That's up about 10 full points from our baseline in 2015. So saw a lot of good progress. The top 40 metro areas, they've got all the resources, they've got all the funding. They're running about 76. The top 75 area, a little less at 74. And then outside of that, 66. These are not bad numbers or a slight on anybody, what we're looking for is to see where we're at and how things are moving, across the country. And doing the assessment gives you a snapshot of where you're at and then what to focus on within your region. And then I'll talk a little bit more about outreach and how to use some of this assessment information. Next slide. So with that, here's kind of the trend from a national perspective. And yes, I do have an answer to why did we drop from 73 down to 71. So it's basically the mix. Most every assessment, and when I was kind of scoring these and looking back through them last year, I think if you did one, you saw I sent you 2022's information versus 2023. I'm sorry, 2023, 24. The reason I did that was we saw that trend in that drop off from the national scores, but individually, just about every single area went forward on their assessment from 2022 to last year. Kind of delving in a little deeper to what changed. I'll be honest with you, there were a couple of high performing regions that did not fill out an assessment in 2023 or 2024. One area in California that scores like an 82 to 85 that doesn't put in can drop our national average considerably. So if we lose a couple of those folks and then you have some rural and emerging or newer groups come on board, it kind of shifts it. But, just that's kind of what happened last year versus 2022. So don't take that as the industry's taking a nosedive or going in the wrong direction. It's just a mix of the participants from 2022 to what we had fill it out last year. So we do expect those numbers to rise, and some of that could be due to turnover, people not realizing or not being connected to these types of meetings and or knowing where to even do the assessment. So that's on us to do that continual outreach. Next slide. So as far as where we're at, this is excluding the rural and emerging TIM programs, the ones that did not answer the full 41 questions. Again, we're right there around a 71 versus our baseline of 64. You can see our strategic section. We dropped about three points. The tactical section, a lot of our laws and things, and I'll go into these individually, had a little bit higher of a reduction. And again, that's probably attributed more to the fact that some of the areas that were more seasoned, that had a lot of the laws and things in place, didn't fill out the assessment, where some of the new areas filling this out maybe didn't have those laws and those things put in. Support went down a little bit, same comment there. So next slide. So again, we were down a little bit, strategic score down a little bit, tactical down a little bit more. We did see, comparing scores year over year, it does fluctuate a little bit. But again, the more assessments we can get, the less of a ding you'll see for those types of situations. So next slide. So here's the breakout kind of section by section. So on the strategic, this is more how you run your program. Do you have formal TIM teams? Are you using training and after action reports to kind of train your community? Are you tracking? What gets measured gets done. That's the whole reason for this self-assessment. But the performance measures, looking at your roadway clearance, your incident clearance, your secondary crash reduction, any other number of stops, response times, things like that. All of these performance measures help to move your program in a positive direction. If you look at the actual high scores, not really the average, but the highs, we went from on strategic 42 out of 45 potential points, with over half the participants being above average. The formal TIM programs, a lot of people actually scored 100 on that. I mean, they got 100%. Very close on the TIM training. We're seeing a lot of outreach. As Jim mentioned, we're approaching 800,000. We really need to get to 1 million. We really need to get to every first responder and get this information out. And then performance measures, not quite 100% score on that. But there's areas that, obviously the lower scores mean there's a lot of areas that can improve there. So next slide. Part of the reason for doing this assessment is to see who's doing what at a high level and who needs help. And then cross-pollinating. You've got peer exchange. You've got formal things that you can put in place. You can reach out to federal highways and see if they can help put you in contact with other states. With this team, the self-assessment team, we can help cross-pollinate and give you programs that can help guide you in some of these areas. One of the big things that we saw, the high scoring areas all had formal TIM programs with regular team meetings, at least quarterly. I think I heard Suzanne Johnson from Houston say they meet monthly. I mean, that's the home run. If you can get to monthly, at least quarterly, those were where the real high participants scored, because they're keeping things going. They're formalizing their programs. They're getting constant input and feedback and participation. Again, 67% met 4 times per year, which aligned with what we had back in 2022. Those that met 4 times a year, their average score was 72, almost 73, which was, higher than the average, much higher than the average. Those that met less than 4 times a year, they only scored a 63. So a 10-point differential. That's one way to really get your scores up, not just getting that one individual score on the assessment. That bleeds over basically across the whole board. Next slide. So that was the strategic section. On the tactical side, this is more your formal policies, your laws, performance measures, your policies and procedures. So we did have a lot of the more formal programs, the metro regions. Again, this excludes rural and emerging. Scored perfect on all three of these events. So we did have high scores that met every single one of these. Again, some of the lower scores were on the TIM laws. That is not low-hanging fruit. That is a difficult thing to get into place. To get a TIM law, you've got to go out and get a champion, probably in your state legislature, lobbyist. Somebody there has got to be the champion and kind of get that in front of the right people. This could be your tow community. If you've got a strong towing community that has strong lobbyists, that may be one of your avenues to get these things in front of the legislature. So, look at those types of opportunities. Your policies and procedures, those are things you can fine tune yourself. Putting in response times and clearance times, those are things you can self-implement and start tracking. And then obviously responder and motorist safety measures. Again, those are things that you can self-impose without having to go and change state laws and things like that. So next slide. And then finally, we've got the tactical section. Again, this was an area where we did see an almost 10% increase, a 9.2% increase over the baseline. We did drop a little bit last year, and again, that was just due to the mix. But again, these are some of your high-performing areas. Your Metro Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of the areas in Florida, they work independently, but they all do great things. Northern Virginia, the capital region, they've got a lot of real formal activities that are going on. So if you need help trying to get some of these initiatives off the ground, keep attending these Talking TIM webinars. Jim gave you a list of assets and resources at the beginning of this webinar. Start to investigate those and then reach out to some of these other agencies. Use us to kind of find out how to cross-pollinate with these. And then finally, next slide, the support score. So this is a lot of your integration, CAD sharing data collection. We had some groups that scored really high. We had some that were, only caught one of these things. So again, next slide. As far as the baseline for these, CAD integration, interoperability, these are all great things to formalize and be more efficient out there, which leads to safety on the roadways. Sharing data between Tim's stakeholders and having pre-planned detour or alternate routes. So people aren't guessing where to send traffic, not sending traffic over, low tonnage bridges or, clogging up arterials unnecessarily or sending people from interstates to non-state maintained roads where tractor trailers are getting stuck. Having these things in place goes a long ways. We did have this was our highest increase since we started back in 2015, 11.5% increase over our baseline. And again, a lot of the players down in Florida, I see Columbus, Ohio was a very high scorer in this. Another one that I'm familiar with, Maryland, their chart program, a lot of data sharing and interoperability. So a lot of groups that can help push that bar and help you with your areas. So as far as the next slide, rural and emerging programs, again, it's kind of a moving target. In 2021, that was the first year that we started those areas. That does take a little more outreach. We did get 6 of them, which was down from 14 in 2022 and 8 in 2021. So we only had 6, but we got some good information from them. Part of the reason our numbers went down in 2023, 24 was because 4 of the areas actually moved from filling out just the rural questions and emerging questions to the full 41 questions. So we thought that was interesting that some of those areas are progressing from emerging and rural to filling out the full assessment. And, there's growth in things like that. I know Georgia, outside of Metro Atlanta, most of those areas are considered rural and emerging. But they now have safety service patrols and active traffic management centers that manage the whole state. There's 7 regions, with 6 of them being considered rural and emerging. So those are the types of areas that can, due to having something like a safety service patrol and traffic management center, you may want to change how you look at your region and switch and answer the full 41 so we can get your feedback on those types of areas. As far as who's putting in on these, 100% were law enforcement, 83% fire and rescue, 83% transportation. So not 100% transportation or high 90s like we saw in the metro regions. So that was a little bit of a difference, but they did have a lot of participation with full TIM teams, which I thought was very interesting to see that it wasn't just one person filling out for the whole region. So next slide. As far as how they performed, it was, even though it was a different mixture of groups for the rural and emerging areas, the change from baseline, they've only been doing it since 2021. It was almost a wash. Tactical went up 2.5 points. Strategic went down a percentage. Support stayed flat. The change from 2022, again, a different mix. Not as much on the data interoperability on the support section. So that was kind of the biggest hit. The other ones I consider marginal. So, they're still doing great work and it's interesting to see how they're doing. Next slide. So these are not in any specific order, but just to kind of bring everything together, the highest scoring programs in the country, just running down the list, Arizona, the AZ Tech Tim Coalition, Florida had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 regions that were all extremely high scoring. They get hit with a lot of Tim type issues. They've got a lot of, Orlando, you've got a lot of tourist areas down there, and then you get a lot of major storms and events. So the necessity is for them to be high performing, and they pay off. They do a great job. Metro Atlanta, extremely high scoring and very robust. Kentucky, the Trimark team. Massachusetts, with their Massachusetts Tim Task Force. Michigan, Simtalk area, New York, and these are just the ones that submitted. There's other very strong Tim teams out there, but Western New York Incident Management Committee, Metro Columbus, the ODOT Tim team, Texas Aim High, the North Central Texas Council of Government, the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas is extremely high, and then Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia, and then Wisconsin, WisDOT's time program. Again, these are areas, if you're struggling and you know somebody from one of these areas, or if we can help put you in contact with somebody, please let us know. Next slide. So where are we going? We're going to go continue doing this. We're coming up on 10 years. Next year is a big year. So around the August time frame, we'll do outreach to the community. You'll probably see a couple of blurbs here on the Talking Tim webinars about it. But we'll be reaching out to the Tim community. If you filled out the assessment last year, we're definitely going to tag you. I think Federal Highways does a good job of finding out each state's Tim champion. So we'll be sending it to your Tim contacts for the state. We'll be sending this information out, and then the formal assessments will go from September through November, right around the Thanksgiving timeframe. So that the assessment tool stays open year round. If you need to use it, or you just want to do an assessment offline, you feel free to do that. But again, that portal stays open and can be used at any time to do a one-off assessment, or if you want to keep that formal. And then after this is done, we'll send out a summary report. And that's basically where this came from, this PowerPoint. So next slide. So here's your links, guys. And Vishal, if you don't mind, drop these into the chat box for everybody. But to actually do the self-assessment, if you want some information on it, hit that top FHWA self-assessment for Tim programs link. That'll give you kind of the why we do this, some of the outreach information. The actual Tim self-assessment, that's the middle block there. If you click that, that'll take you to the self-assessment tool. We are making some changes to it to make this easier for you to do this year. Some streamlines to the actual online tool. And if you have any issues with that, please reach out to us. That bottom email is your contact. So the Tim self-assessment email, fhwa-tim-sa@battelle.org. Go ahead and put that in these in your favorites, and be ready for that come September. And more to come with it. But last slide. These are your contacts. So Paul Joden kind of led this effort for the last 9 years. We're pivoting that over to Sharon Cuevas. So there's her contact information. So if you see that, do not be expecting an email from Paul Joden. That'll actually come from Sharon this year. She's supported by David Johnson at Federal Highways, and obviously Jim Ostrich is, one of the best champions for Tim I've ever met. So definitely go back, and a lot of respect for you, brother. But that's all I've got, everybody. So leave a little bit of time for some questions and answers. Jim, back to you, brother.
Thank you, Brian. Boy, you never disappoint. You covered a lot of ground, and very important ground. with the TIM self-assessment, it's still very much alive and going strong. It helps identify and help states, evaluate themselves and to what level of maturity the various different programs that they administer, all related to transportation systems management and operations, and obviously traffic incident management. One point I want to make about traffic incident management on the committee side or coalition or however you refer to your program, that committees are really not a big investment to stand up. And as Brian said, if you're doing a monthly, you're hitting a grand slam, and you have every one of the different disciplines in at the meeting. If it's virtual, that's fine, but ideally in person. And if you're doing it quarterly, to some level, as Brian said, those are your more successful TIM programs. And Paul and Joe and I, we always espoused and preached that to the nation. So if you're considering building one, then go for it. And we're all out here to support you. A big thanks to Brian and the whole Battelle team for maintaining and administering the TIM self-assessment. So with that, as Brian said, we're in the last phase of today's webinar. We have approximately 28 minutes. We don't have to go the whole 28, but first, I guess we could open it up. I see one hand raised here. Who is that? That's Bill Kinzer. Bill, is your mic open? Kevin, is our mics open?
No, it is now.
Okay. Unmute yourself, Bill.
Yep,
There you
go
go.
ahead. Yep.
What's your question?
I did not have a question.
Okay, well, you have a hand
Say
raised.
I did. Did I raise the hand by accident? Must have. I apologize if I did. No, just listening along.
No problem, sir. Happens to the best of us. Okay, so questions. We have some canned questions here as
And
part of.
Jim, there was one question asked through the Q&A by an anonymous participant, and it was that they work in a county government and they're interested in participating in the self-assessment, recognizing that it's really geared towards state and regional organizations. Is there a better alternative or certain questions geared towards local governments? And Suzanne answered it very well, which is join your local TIM group, if there is one at the state, county, or city or local level. And so I don't know if you had any additional feedback on that question.
Well, first of all, I'm not a big fan of anonymous participants.
Understood.
So I'm sorry to say that. He or she can email me outside of this webinar, and I'll try to help them out. Brian and Suzanne, if you're still there, turn on your cameras. Excuse me, turn on your cameras, please. Shali, I'm just going to go to the canned questions.
Sounds good.
Starting with if I have trouble getting a full committee together to do the assessment, can I submit a survey for my area without any other responders?
Yeah, Jim, that would be absolutely fine. And actually about half the groups do that. It is difficult to get a full committee together just to do an assessment sometimes, but if possible, that is the preferred, because then you're getting a good blend of feedback from across your region. But if a lot of the regions do have a champion or one person that does it, that's absolutely fine. And to your anonymous person, if you feel so inclined, absolutely go onto the website, the self-assessment website, and you can see the questions that we're putting on there. If you feel like that's something you're interested in filling out and submitting, if there is a TIM program and we get one from an individual and from a region, we do cross-pollinate those in our database and try to reach out and figure out which one is the appropriate one, and put that person in contact with the right group. So we'll be glad to do that.
Thank you, Brian. Question for Suzanne. What do you see as a good opportunity to enhance safe quick clearance in the Houston area? And is more training, response technologies, data, or all the above? I guess Vishali gave me the answers to the question, but you want to add anything there, Suzanne?
I would say it's definitely all of the above. We are looking at some maybe AI analytics to help us determine areas that need more resources. But training and data is always useful. Like I said, I'm kind of a data nerd, so give me more data and let me figure out what to do with it. But yeah, it also is going to take a bit more communication between the city, state, and county governments and agencies, because we don't always get along as well as we should. We don't always communicate as well as we should. So I think it's also a people thing. So if we can get more communication and more coordination, that will help a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good answer. Another one for Brian. If I'm in a rural or emerging area, can I still answer all 41 questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, I'm familiar with one of those regions in Georgia, outside of Metro Atlanta. They have safety service patrols called CHAMP. They've got dispatch centers that cover those in areas, like Tifton, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, those types of areas that are not as metrocentric. So you can absolutely do that. And Greg Baumgartner from Battelle put a interesting tidbit in the chat. The assessments are, we're adding some functionality to it, and we'll go deeper into that in the August training. But some tools that are in there that are being added this year for collaboration within the TIM team that you're trying to do the assessment with. So some things that'll make that easier for you to get these people to the table and to get their input. But yeah, absolutely. If you're so inclined, fill out the full 41 questions. We're good with that.
Excellent. Excellent. Another one for Suzanne. How have you seen support for TIM evolve over the past few years in Houston?
So it has become more important, as opposed to kind of on the back burner with each agency doing their own thing. But there's definitely been more, it's been more in the spotlight. So that's a good thing. And it has caused more people to attend the meetings, more people to be interested in it, more agencies coming to the TIM meetings, or just coming to the TIM coordinators in general and saying, hey, what can we do to help, or what can you do for us to help us? So it's, as with anything, more acknowledgement is gonna help, because the more people we get involved, the better, right?
Absolutely. And a thought that I had earlier, as actually both of you, were going through your presentations. An old friend of mine used to say, TIM programs are perishable. TIM is perishable. So all of you here today obviously are very interested. I would even dare say, have a vested interest in your individual programs, and believe in what the benefits of good traffic incident management practices and programs provide, starting with the main one, which is saving lives. So, we've got, like, as Brian said, we got to keep at it. We have much work still to be done in this nation to train responders and to continue to strengthen our TIM programs. Another question for Brian. I'm new to my role as a TIM coordinator. How do I get past TIM? How do I get past TIM self-assessments?
Yeah, it's basically just email us at the FHWA tim-sa@battelle.org, the link that was Vishali put into the chat. If you'll email that to us, and we've had quite a few people do that were new in their roles, shoot us an email and we can pull back the ones from the last 3 years that were done for your region, or we can work with Federal Highways and see if we can pull them from prior to that. But we can definitely get you the ones from 2022 forward. So yeah, just reach out on that email and it'll blast all of us and we'll get that to you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Suzanne, does the Houston region have opportunities to collaborate with the other metro areas in Texas to share good practices and lessons?
We do. We have a bi-monthly statewide TIM meeting, which is where we share a lot of best practices. We had one supposed to be last week, was rescheduled for today. So we are able to learn a lot from them, and it's helpful. Also, there's a couple of questions in the Q&A now. So
okay. What do we got here? Let's see. You're talking about Dawn Lapka. I'd like to ask a question.
Michael Washburn has asked, how has Houston's Help Alert program impacted incident management and been received by the public?
So it's the Help Alert system is actually statewide. It has been used more in the rural areas, so we're just starting to use it more in the Houston area. It helps us because we can let people know before they even get on the freeways that they shouldn't get on the freeway, that it's going to be closed for more than 4 hours, or it has been. As far as the public, we've gotten mixed feedback. I personally have gotten mixed feedback. The public does have an option to message us through the help alerts, and most of them think that it's automated, so they just reply with stop. But if they do have questions, we can answer them back. They just don't quite know that yet. So some people are annoyed by it, but some people have actually found out that it's really helpful. Even our maintenance employees and our public information officers were out on an accident when I activated one, and my phone lit up like, what is this? Why is my phone going off? Because even our guys didn't know about it. But I feel like in the future, if we use it more, it's definitely going to help. Like I said, I see it helping a lot more in the more rural areas where they don't have the frontage roads and they don't have as many detours that they can take.
Okay, very good. I see a question here from Nick Borrego. How can private sector companies actively participate in TIM initiatives? Additionally, does TIM plan to incorporate AI to enhance assessments using data already collected to existing infrastructure? Yes and no. More to come on that, Nick. I'm not in a position to really elaborate on that at this time. And as far as the first part of your question about private sector, you simply need to contact the state that you're in, and I don't know offhand where you're at, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, you need to contact your state DOT program and
the point of contacts that Brian mentioned that exist for all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico, there is a list of contacts. So that's the best way for you to communicate, or at least begin communicating some of your thoughts and ideas with with state.
Yeah, and Jim,
So-
you can also look at you may have a state website or a region TIM program. Google and see if they've got a website, and there's usually a contact button on there that you could connect with them through.
Yeah, good point, Brian. There's more and more states. It's slow going, but more states are standing up TIM web pages, TIM for all
Right.
sorts of reasons, including the training and just sharing data, success stories, et cetera, et cetera. But no, that's a good point. The links back that Brian also referred to earlier for the Federal Highway TIM program, there's a ton of information there, including points of contacts.
Well,
So
we are coming to a close, so I don't know if there are any additional questions, but we do try to close a little earlier than 3 p.m. So
well, that hasn't always been the case with Shali, but in the case
Yes.
of today, I would what is this? I'm seeing questions here. Tim Peters. Well, it's gone now.
Yeah, so happy to share. The question was, after completing TIM training, there are questions that come from those that have participated. There seems to be a lot of traffic incident management types. Are there resources for fire departments regarding traffic control when they are the only responders at the incident scene?
For fire rescue specifically?
Yes, fire. Yes, when they are the only responder on scene, when the law enforcement or the transportation or others have not arrived on scene and they're the first ones on scene. Is there specific training for that scenario, or is that already a part of the TIM training?
It is part of the TIM training, yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of resources out there on the topic of temporary traffic control that's clearly how should I say stipulated in the Federal Manual Uniform Traffic Control Devices. But outside of that, the fact is that emergency traffic control, as we sometimes refer to it, is not the same. It's still a work zone, if you will, but it's one that we refer to as a TIMA in a lot of cases, a traffic incident management area or traffic incident management work zone. So the requirements are not as stringent as those for actual construction, for example, for like lane closures out on an interstate or another arterial roadway. Responders do know about temporary traffic control, the basic principles of sign spacing, cone devices, cones and barrels, and flares and things like that, and of course the advanced warning signage and setting up transition tapers, if you will, for channelizing traffic left or right around a crash scene. So go ahead,
And
Susan.
I would add, if you aren't familiar with it, check in your state's MUTCD, because it is chapter 6 is for temporary traffic control. And check with your local DOT or city to see if somebody with their road crew can help train your people on how to set up these controls, these temporary controls.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the big thing is do the federal highways traffic incident management training, because that doesn't give you just how to put your temporary traffic control out. It gives you the full wealth of knowledge on how to manage these scenes, how to interoperate with other agencies, who's responsible for what. So I'd say that's the big home run. If you need some individual training, respondersafety.com has a wealth of resources that you can download and sign up for. But definitely you want to get the full TIM team training.
Yes, indeed. And don't forget the TIM responder training is available online through the National Highway Institute or the Emergency or Responder Safety Learning Network, also known as ERSI, Emergency Responder Safety Institute. It's a good point, Brian. The training is definitely the way to go. Okay, so we have 9 minutes left. Unless anyone has any other urgent questions, concerns, or thoughts that they want to share. I'm going to thank our presenters today, Suzanne Johnson from TxDOT and Brian Purvis with AECOM representing FHWA's self-assessment program and their prime contractor, Battelle Institute, all the good work they're doing running that project for us. Thank you to both of you. Thank you to Shal, our contractor, Kevin Vita, and very importantly, all of you for everything that you do. Your focus on this, please, we ask that you continue because it could be your own life or the life of one of your own family members that you're saving. So until next time, and see you then. Bye-bye now.